You know what? Wrestling on Friday night, you know, you get the best of both worlds. You get WWE and you get AEW. If you're into one over the other, then you either get SmackDown Live or you get Rampage. But if you're an overall fan, you get the best of both worlds. And you know what? I'm here to discuss them both. It's your boy Scootpentico, representing that tag fam, tag squad. What up, Dizzle? What up, Jaeger? And let's run through it. Alright, first thing first, we got SmackDown Live, aka. And the reason why I named it aka because it was SmackDown Live, aka the same show I just watched last week. Literally, if you watch my review of SmackDown Live last week, virtually the same thing. A few changes here and there, virtually the same thing. Let's get into it. They start off with the Usos in the ring, congratulating Roman because he's now 508 days as champ. So they had this pretty cool little video about, when he first won it and what he's been, the opponents he's been smashing, as he likes to say, since he's got the title up until now. Of course, Roman comes out. They start talking and, they talking about with Rollins and everything. Of course, you say the name and they come. Rollins comes out and, he was talking about how myself and Moxley carried you with the shield. Yeah, he dropped Mox. The Usos has been carrying you through your world title reign. So it's like, do it without your boys. Do it without the Usos. So that's been like the ongoing thing, is that can Roman do this without the Usos? Or is it one of those things to where he's going to need the Usos? So he proposed a tag team match against the Seth proposed a tag team match against the Usos. If my team wins, the Usos are barred from ringside at our match at Rumble. Then they was like, okay, well, excuse me. Sorry about that. That was kind of almost the overall feeling of SmackDown Live. I'm sorry. But they was like, who's going to be crazy enough to team up with you? You ain't got no friends, this and the other. So, of course, he was like, yeah, y'all are right. In hits KO's music. As y'all know, KO and Seth been buddy as of late. So that's going to be Rollins' partner. Then, but Roman gets on the mic by saying, well, fine. If that's the stakes, if the Usos win, then the match at Rumble is over. So that way I can go on vacation and not have to worry about anything to WrestleMania. So those are stakes for the tag team match. First match of the night, once again, rematch city. Kofi Kingston versus Madcap Moss. Of course, Madcap Moss has Happy Corbin. Kofi brings out Biggie. Biggie reuniting with his New Day brethren. This time around, Kofi gets the dub over Madcap Moss. And then after that, Big E gets in the ring. They jaw jacking with Corbin. He hits the big ending on Madcap Moss. They even announced for next week it's going to be the New Day, Big E and Kofi, versus Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin. Then we get another rematch with Aaliyah versus Natalya. And like I said last week, Natalya was on the wrong end of a world record. Aaliyah pinned her in 3.18 seconds. So this time around, they actually have a match, but Natalya is repeatedly stomping Aaliyah in the corner, ignores the ref counts. Natalya gets disqualified. From that, eventually Xia Li comes out and saves Aaliyah from Natalya. Not necessarily quite a direct rematch, but it was a fatal four-way tag team match with these two teams in it. But this time it was a direct match between the Viking Raiders and the Los Lotharios. It was a really showcasing at the fact that the Viking Raiders are getting ready for their match against the Usos. Viking Raiders win. Just keep it simple. This situation, of course, this was from 2 weeks ago, but Naomi getting screwed out with Charlotte Flair. So this match is about to happen again. And of course, if Naomi wins, she gets a proper title shot against Charlotte. Of course, right before the match starts, Sonya comes in the ring, takes the referee shirt from Charles Robinson. She's the ref. Sonya hits the not sorry, Sonya. Naomi hits the rear end, has Charlotte pinned, but I think Sonya took like a bump and she was outside the ring, like adjusting her clothes. And then eventually Charlotte recovers, chop blocks Naomi, puts the figure four on. Before she could even bridge it to the figure eight, she slides in the ring and rings the bell. And of course, Pat's like, what in the Bret Hart is going on? But yeah. So to kind of wrap up this part too, because it happened again, it happened like later on in the show. Bischoff was in the back talking with Adam Pierce, saying that Pierce needs to take more reigns as the leader, and he needs to kind of you know bring the authority if need be. So Pierce informs Naomi that, hey, due to your interference, that's not how a I forgot what they call them because they're not GMs. I forgot the titles, but that's not how basically upper management is supposed to act. So I'm speaking to the higher ups, and they're gonna propose a match between y'all two. And yes, next week officially it will be Naomi versus Sonya Deville. We'll see how that go. And just like last week, Sami Zayn presents Insane. This time around, he was talking about how Knoxville got his start by using defensive weapons against themselves, like using tasers and mace and this, that, and the other. So he had like this little cattle prod thing that he was, shocking himself with. And then of course Knoxville comes out and was like, "Let me see what you over here doing, my guy." He was like, the thing is working. It's a real prop, but you never turned it on. Because Zayn show called shocked himself twice. Then when Knoxville actually turned it on, then he properly shocked Zayn, helped Zayn up, throws him over the top rope. Yeah, that's how that segment ended. Once again, as of last week, Sheamus versus Ricochet. This time around, Ridge Holland is now back, but same result. Sheamus gets the W. I mean, I wish I could say more, but literally, if you saw the match last week, you saw virtually the match this week, except that Reg Holland was there. And then finally, we get the main event: Seth freaking Rollins, KO versus the Usos. And it has been acknowledged that the Usos are now the longest reigning SmackDown Tag Team Champions at 187 days, I think it was. But this was a pretty solid match. I enjoyed it. The only issue is typical WWE finish in fashion, it ended in a fuck finish. Rollins hit the stomp on Jimmy, I think it was. And right when he did that, um, Roman came out there and Superman punched Rollins. So of course that causes the DQ, which means the Usos will be barred from their match at Royal Rumble. That was basically SmackDown Live, like I said, aka the rematch show, aka the repeat. Um, the way I feel about it is wrestling shows are fun. Like I've been to a pretty nice little amount of live events, whether they were house shows, whether they was Raws, and I even got a chance to even seeing pay-per-views. Wrestling shows can be interesting and can be fun. My issue with this in particular, it's paying your money for something you literally just seen. Like, literally, the only difference is the placements of the matches might have been different, but for the most part, you saw Kingston and Moss. The only difference is Big E was out there. You saw Naomi and Charlotte 2 weeks ago. The only difference is Sonya was the referee. You saw Sheamus and Ricochet last week. The only difference is Ridge Holland is back. Viking Raiders and Los Lotharios was in it last week, except that they added Cesaro and Mansoor and insert the fourth team because it was a fatal four-way tag match. Oh, Jinder and Shanky. Like, literally, this was literally the same show, just in a different city, and they tried to slap a new coat of paint on it. So I'm pretty sure the atmosphere and I'm pretty sure the overall feeling was fun and cool, but it's still the same show. And that would be the issue I would have if I paid my money to see to see SmackDown this week, because it literally was the same show. Sorry. Next up, of course, we get AEW Rampage. And this was a special live Rampage. And let's face it, we know why it was live, because we starting it off. I can't do it like Justin Roberts, so forgive me if it doesn't come out. But we had Jon Moxley versus All Ego Ethan Page. I will say this: I've always said my critiques a little bit with AEW's booking, because a lot of their matches, you know who's going to win. So going into this, we knew Moxley was going to win. We knew Mox was going to take the W. But this was actually a good match. They let Ethan Page legitimately wrestle Mox. They legitimately had a match. It was one of them ones where they was kind of selling it as, Mox hadn't wrestled since October. He might be a little rusty. Ethan Page has been there the whole time wrestling. And, with Mox slimming down and looking healthier, he has to get used to being the weight he is and this, that, and the other. So it was actually a pretty solid match. It ended with Mox hitting the bulldog choke on it ended with Moxley hitting the bulldog choke on Page. Page passes out and gets up like, wait, what happened? What happened? Then eventually Mox hit him with the paradigm shift. And then as he's walking through the crowd through the back, we see Bryan Danielson clapping it up for him. And remember, before Moxley took his leave, him and Danielson was supposed to wrestle for the number one contendership for Hangman's title. So Danielson's probably like, hey, you still owe me that match, Mox. So we'll see where that goes. Then we get a segment of Jurassic Express talking about how the Gun Club attacking Christian, and that wasn't cool, and wait till Christian come back, and we gonna beat that ass and this, that, and the other. So it looks like the Gun Club, Austin and Colton, will be the next up to challenge Jurassic Express at some point. Then we actually get our next match, because due to the fact Rocky Romero couldn't make it, it was supposed to be Roppongi Vice versus the Young Bucks, but it ended up being Nick Jackson versus Trent Beretta. Of course, Nick had Matt, and was Brandon still out there? Or was it just Nick? I think it was just Nick. I think it was just Matt. And then Trent had Orange Cassidy. They was kind of playing off of the whole thing too with Nick, about Nick primarily being a tag wrestler, that he's not usually a singles wrestler. And this was the first time that these two went at each other one-on-one. But apparently they've wrestled against each other roughly a total of like 50 times throughout their careers. So we get it here. Um, a little surprising, but not really. I kind of saw it coming. Beretta rolled up Jackson, got the 1, 2, 3. Pretty solid match. Wasn't a bad match. Once again, um, I personally wish that we could have got the match, but if Rocky couldn't make it through the issues and travel and everything, I just hope everything's okay on his end. But I hope we eventually get the Roppongi Vice versus Young Bucks match. But Beretta steals the W here. So that's what happens. Next up, if I remember correctly, yes, we do get a little video segment of Mercedes Martinez and Thunder Rosa. They still talking their trash towards each other. My only question is that when y'all gonna book the match? Like, is it book? Is it scheduling issues at this point? Like, when y'all gonna book the match? Like, we ready to see it, but we get the cold-hearted, handsome devil Hook versus Serpentico. I kind of wish this match would have been maybe 2-3 minutes shorter, because when Serpentico does his little entrance and he does like the little streamer thing, Hook started attacking him. And I wish the moment Hook had attacked him and the bell started ringing, when the bell ringed, Hook would have kind of hit him with a couple of moves, boom, 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 red rum. But I think all in all, I think it might have been like a 3-4 minute match. Like, it wasn't long. But I just kind of wish that it would have ended sooner, considering that he got the jump start on Serpentico, and that Serpentico, I don't think throughout the whole, I don't think, yeah, he never got a chance to even take his gear, like his kimono off, like, and then he was still kind of wrapped up in the streamers and everything that he shoots at his hand and everything. But another great show with Hook. Hook is special. And for the people who don't get it with Hook, Cornette and Brian Last said it best. Hook is somebody we've seen make his legit debut in AEW. Like, there was no Hook wrestling on the independents. There was no Hook wrestling here or wrestling there. He legit made his debut when he debuted against not El Fuego del Sol. So that was the thing with Hook. Like, it's rare that you see somebody who just makes an appearance that's not known, that he didn't previously work for this company or he didn't previously work for that company. He was legitimately fresh to AEW. Then it was somebody we were seeing with Team Taz this whole time, doing his little interference here and there, and to see that he's actually not a bad wrestler. That's been the thing with Hook. It's that excitement of seeing something and someone new. And yeah, yeah, Hook taps out Serpentico. Then of course QT comes out there talking about Hook is doing this, doing that. Hook eventually captures QT, slams him. So I guess they're gonna try to give Hook his first proper feud with QT, since he did technically leave QT school to go train with Team Taz, because Team Taz, we build assassins. Then your main event for the TBS Championship, Jade Cargill, your champ, versus Anna Jay of the Dark Order. Jade Cargill, of course, is accompanied by Smart Mark Sterling. Anna Jay is accompanied by John Silver, aka Johnny Hungy. Once again, this was a match you knew who was going to win, but it didn't hurt Jade, nor did it hurt Anna Jay, because Jade's coming in 24-0, very dominant. Then you have Anna Jay, who's like been trying to show the world that she's championship material, because during a little pre-match interview, she even flipped it by saying, "Yeah, TBS is gonna end up standing for that bitch Slayer." So that was a pretty cool little flip, and pretty solid match between the two. The only thing I hate a lot of times with these matches is the people be in the process, the wrestlers be in the process of doing moves and doing things, and when the other person and then when like the outside manager or wrestler jumps on the apron, it's like, why should that distract you from doing what you're doing? Them jumping on the apron should not distract you from doing what you're doing. But it led to, I want to say, the closing segments. Anna was about to do something. I can't remember. Mark jumped on the apron. Johnny pulled him off. Johnny brain busters him on the outside. Then I want to say Jade hits the pump kick. Then the Jaded 1, 2, 3. Yeah, like I said, it wasn't a bad showing for both ladies. You know, I'm loving the way Jade is flipping the whole thing, that she's so green as it, but she's flipping it to where that she's green like money. So she's taking a quote unquote negative connotation about wrestlers and flipping it. And Anna is proving that she's gonna win a championship at some point, whether it's the TBS or whether it's the AEW Women's Championship. She's gonna be a champion, or she's definitely gonna be somebody who is gonna definitely be relied on in the women's division. I can see that at this point with Anna Jay as well. That was a Friday Night Wrestling in a whole. I mean, you got SmackDown and you got AEW. There you go. You know, uh, sorry I couldn't be more in depth with SmackDown, but it was the same show from last week. I can't. Same thing. I'm sorry. Don't blame me. Blame the E, because you know what we say on Tag. WWE is going to WWE. Thank y'all for coming out. Whether you love it or hate it, don't forget to rate it. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Preferably the up. Like, share, comment. Let us know what you thought about SmackDown. Let us know what you thought about Rampage. And most important thing, subscribe, so that way you can get all these videos from us Tag boys. Get it all. Get it all. Breathe it all in. Just bask in Tag. There's plenty of videos on the channel and the page. You could just bask in Tag. Thank y'all for coming out. Of course, I've been Scootpentico. Too sweet to the Brodies out there. For Dizzle and for Jaeger. For the Tag fam out there. Bam. And of course, most importantly, good people out there, you always got to remember to tag out. Peace.